Along California's beautiful shoreline, archaeologists carefully dig away at the rambling sands. Before adequately long, they hit something. What's more, as the group zooms the last artifact, obviously their find isn't simply a pushed off from the sea, nor does it fit in with the state's history. All things considered, the 300-pound antiquities is by all accounts from most of the way across the world. At the point when archaeologists uncovered a Californian sand ridge, they found a surprising relic. The dig occurred at the Guadalupe Nipomo rises, the longest arrangement of impeccable beachfront ridges in the world. Since essentially the 1980s, archaeologists have been keen on the sandy field, having found out about a mysterious abundance concealed underneath its hills. Furthermore, presently after numerous long stretches of arranging and digging, their endeavors have landed them a bewildering prize, an artifact apparently 2 or 3 1,000 miles and years from its home. Positively, the Guadalupe Nipomo rises have demonstrated plentiful as of late, with backhoes safeguarding a large number of smallwares from its sandy spread. In any case, while the assorted exhibit of ancient rarities recuperated from the locale is for sure amazing, it's safe to say that the hill's most shocking fortune, which was recovered in 2017, destroys those, and maybe considerably more meriting all than the actual artifact is the account of where it came from. The Guadalupe Nipomo Hills stretch for the most amazing aspect of 20 miles. So it's a miracle that any of its secret fortunes have been uncovered, not to mention such a groundbreaking award. The immense district with its unending sandy hills rising and falling must most likely make for precarious exploring twist, continually floats through the area, which shape the ridges and pushes some of them up to 500 feet high. Also at its lower focuses, the recreation area has yellow growth, freshwater pools and sea waves colliding with the coastline. Notwithstanding its unforgiving scene, however, the district has been occupied for a long time. In the 18th 100 years, Spanish pioneers showed up, and Spanish officer Gaspar de Portola and his undertaking group went through a night out on the rises. Quick forward 2 centuries, and the Guadalupe Nipomo ridges took on something else entirely of occupants, innovative sorts, erudite people, and even nature is run to the sandy stretch between the 1920s and 40s. They guaranteed that the normal region exuded an imaginative energy, motivating them to distribute a magazine called The Ridge Discussion. Those living in the midst of the magnificent animating scene of the ridges called themselves Dunites. Yet they weren't alone in their liking for the beachfront grounds. Dark gold, you see, was spotted rising from underneath the hills in 1948. Furthermore, the oil organization Unocal needed its slice of the pie. Not long after the Guadalupe oil field just getting started. Unocal's work, however, did barely anything to protect the Guadalupe Nipomo rises. All things being equal, its penetrating made north of 12 million gallons of oil spill underneath the sand that took until 1994 for the organization to recognize the spill and do whatever it takes to tidy it up. Shockingly, these supportive endeavors are as yet progressing. In 2015. It was assessed that the cleanup could require 1 more 10 years. Surely, as time has gone on, individuals have understood that the Guadalupe Nipomo rises merit securing. It was during the 1970s, as a matter of fact, that the primary present-day measures came into spot to protect the sandy 18-mile stretch. One significant change prohibited off-parkway vehicles, for example, ATVs, from crossing the fragile rises, and keeping in mind that the Guadalupe Nipomo Hills might have been antagonistically impacted by human mediation. Their normal excellence is surely strong. The incredible scene was shaped by strong regular powers. All things considered, the close-by Santa Maria waterway carried silt to the Pacific's edge, joining with the sand that stayed there. Sea twists then stir these materials into an ocean of transcending tops. These specific strains must be sufficiently strong to endure internment underneath the sand, as well as saltwater shower, breezy climate, and disengagement. Taking into account these circumstances, then it's astonishing exactly the number of plants and creatures that twist there. What's more, it's not simply widely varied vegetation you may be shocked to find inside the Guadalupe Nipomo Hills since the mid-1980s. At least specialists have taken extraordinary measures to uncover the rises. Their inquisitive mission has been to uncover Egyptian relics along the California shore, regardless of being north of 6,000 miles from Egypt. However, those diving in the district aren't essentially depending on potluck. As a matter of fact, archaeologists have utilized ground planning to provide themselves with a smart thought of what's underneath the Guadalupe Nipomo ridges and where to track down it. Sadly, however, they can't simply uncover the items that show up on their screens. Their methodology should consider both what they're uncovering and the climate in which it's covered. In particular, large numbers of the antiquities tucked away underneath the Guadalupe Nipomo hills were created from mortar. After many years spent under the sand, they lost their robustness and assumed the consistency of wiper blue cheddar. As such, archaeologists from Applied Earthworks Consolidated, who were answerable for the unearthings on the ridges selected to initially solidify the relics set up prior to recovering them from the sands. This long, strenuous cycle demonstrated risky for those keen on finishing the Guadalupe Nipomo project. Vitally, the ridges community needed to make a solid effort to assemble financing for any archaeological dives in the district. In some cases, however, nature demonstrated a significant partner playing directly into their hands. Sand rises, you see, don't stay in one spot. Winds shift them and reshape them consistently. To be sure, the Guadalupe Nipomo hills will generally move various feet as time passes. These continuous developments gradually can uncover pieces of the very relics that archaeologists have seen on their radars. In any case, these parts are only a little example of the genuine fortunes stowing away beneath. Then 2017 archaeologists demonstrated that whenever they had the opportunity to dive into the hills, and even with radar imaging and the past ancient rarities uncovered, those at the place of work could scarcely accept what they found. Secret underneath the sand and the Guadalupe Nipomo ridges was a 300-pound Sphinx head. Without a doubt. What's more, the inquisitive artifact was in excellent condition. To be sure, the chief overseer of the Dune focus, Doug Jensen, couldn't accept the fine condition of the immense Sphinx's head. He said in an explanation, "The piece is not normal for anything found on past digs. Most of it is protected by sand with the first paint still unblemished." The artifact likewise paraded very extraordinary tones. Obviously, the Sphinx was a long way from Old Egypt, where one could hope to uncover such a socially unambiguous leftover of the past. In any case, archaeologists realized that they would find something with an Egyptian wind stowing away underneath the Guadalupe Nipomo rises. Furthermore, that is a result of one last piece of the focal point history, without a moment's delay, filled in as a film set for a well-known denial time film. During the 1920s, you see Chief Cecil B. DeMille. He picked the Guadalupe Nipomo hills as the background for his blockbuster quiet film, The 10 Decrees. The scripturally enlivened picture included cutting-edge scenes of siblings deciphering the heavenly texts in various ways, as well as portions set in Old Egypt. Also, for those scenes of the Old World, the transcending Guadalupe Nipomo hills disguised convincingly, it should be said, as the Egyptian deserts, obviously. DeMille required something other than sand to rejuvenate the scriptural focal point. The abandoned set then, at that point, may have just disintegrated in this severe climate and become lowered under the moving slopes. Whether it was man or nature that covered the grand set, it would stay stowed away from view for a considerable length of time after its utilization. It was then that specialist Peter Brosnan, a producer himself and a major devotee of Demis, sought out set to track down it. The renowned overseer of the 10 rules, you see, left signs in his self-portrayal about where exactly he recorded the scriptural epic. Brosnan, in the long run, found the area and wound up in the Guadalupe Nipomo hills. There were a couple of issues, however. He didn't have the cash important to take on such a gigantic unearthing. What's more, as recently referenced, this frequently survives from the motion pictures. Set would require solidifying before they could rise up out of the ground. To add a further intricacy to the undertaking, the Guadalupe Nipomo ridges have numerous insurances that save them after the deplorable oil penetrating and ATV delight composing of the past. It took Brosnan quite a few years to get Stnik Barber-County's consent to dive into the sand looking for these deep-rooted relics of Hollywood film. So even with Brosnan pinpointing the area of the 10 edicts said it required a long time for the digs to start. During the 1990s, the principal round of unearthings uncovered little leftovers from the film that was once recorded there. For example, archaeologists found disallowance close to alcohol bottles, smoking gear, and some way or another a cut of consumed toast saved under the sand. In 2012, the group made their most memorable Sphinx prop-related revelation. Around then, they found another of the figure's heads. However, it disintegrated as they attempted to eliminate it from the beginning. Furthermore, when they attempted to recuperate the other sculpture's body, they found that, unfortunately, it also had decayed after almost 100 years in the sand. Furthermore, that is exactly why the 2017 revelation of such a very much saved Sphinx demonstrated so energizing for the archaeologists at the Guadalupe Nipomo rises. The figure rose up out of the ground wearing its unique earthenware tone, and surprisingly, it estimated in at the most awesome aspect of 10 feet tall, with the 2017 fine backhoes unquestionably experienced a fortunate turn of events. Not just had they tracked down the monstrous Sphinx in any case, yet it had wound up covered totally by sand, saving it against the components and permitting water to deplete through any contact with soil, for instance, and the whole mortar-based sculpture would have dampened and disintegrated like the others. In any case, the uncovering group didn't take any risks in eliminating the second Sphinx that they found. They covered its inner parts with a froth shower, which reinforced the mortar sculpture. Yet, even without the additional layer of security, the group viewed the Sphinx as in great shape, with a significant number of its subtleties still noticeable, explicitly, gentlemen, and noticed the bright paints that safeguard the orange tremendous sculpture. This element was fascinating. It was kept in highly contrasting to think about that the 10 charges. These strokes of splendid tones filled a need, however. They made the subtleties champion in any event, when extended in shades of dim. And albeit the Sphinx recovered from underneath the Guadalupe Nipomo rises may not be a genuine remnant of old Egypt, it actually has a significant spot ever. Jensen clarified for Quartz film sets just don't exist any longer from that brilliant period of Hollywood. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a thing.